Long story short, I was wildin', y'all. I'm about to age myself because this was back in the day before quitting your job was trendy and cool. When I told my family and friends what I was about to do, it was not the responses y'all see today. Instead, it was more along the lines of, baby girl, what is you doing? Like, it just was not a thing. And I had to pull up this picture of myself because I vividly remember taking this photo of me. That's me on the day I packed up my stuff to move to Atlanta. And as you can see, I am smiling from ear to ear because who was worried? Not me. Not me. Not a worry in the world. Okay, so telling this story is long overdue. One, because I want you all to learn from my mistakes. And two, because it's a large part of the reason why I went on to become a career coach in the first place. I always like to say I became what I wish I had. And back then, I wish I had someone to guide me with data points other than, why are you leaving your good paying job? Like, that's literally all I heard. And to be clear, I did have a word from the Lord that Atlanta would ultimately be my home. So I had the why. I knew exactly why I was leaving that job because it required me to live outside of Atlanta. So I knew that it had to go eventually. However, where I went wrong, like the missteps were, I was not clear on the when or the how. And so me just being a doer, I did it, right? Like I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be in Atlanta. Bet, let me go. And so I quit. And I had no real plan other than I'll find an amazing job when I get there, y'all. And let me also state that I worked for a great company. I had good experience on my resume and I had gotten my PMP certification. So I just thought for certain when I get there, like I'll find a project management position and it'll be easy peasy. When I tell y'all, it was anything but. Like for 6 months, I applied to over 100 positions. And this is back before LinkedIn Easy Apply was a thing. Like this is back when you are lucky if they have the ability for you to upload your resume and for that to fill in the application for you. But it was 50-50 on if that was even a thing. And so this took a lot of time. It took a lot of effort. It drained me, honestly, for 6 straight months. And over that time, this is the kicker. Over that time, applying to hundreds of places, I got literally 3 interviews. 3, I still remember it. One was with the company where after I had the initial interview, they ended up pulling the job. So it wasn't even an option on the table anymore. The second was a contract position that was only for 30 hours a week. And mind you, I had already been out of work for about 4.5 months. So taking a contract position that was only 30 hours a week, I mean, it was going to be my last resort, right? Because I needed to recoup the funds that I've been using during this time where I did not have a job. The third company that I interviewed with is the one that I ultimately went on to work for, which I'll share a little bit more about that in a later video, but 3 out of hundreds. And so if you are like me and you are doing the math in your head, I can save you some time. The math don't math. The math does not math. It was lots of time, lots of energy, lots of effort, and it felt like I was doing it all for nothing because I wasn't seeing the results that I expected to see. Quit your job, they said. Move to a new city, they said. You deserve it, they said. Y'all, been there, done that. And to clarify, wasn't nobody saying this to me back in the day, but I know that that's the trend now, right? In this day and age, there are so many people who will encourage you to just do it, right? Like, just do it. I feel like there's not enough people talking about the other side of things, right? So not talking about what it looks like to max out all of your credit cards because you're trying to keep up with your bills and stay afloat while you're out of work. There's not many people talking about what it looks like to face rejection because you're not well positioned for your next position. I feel like there's not a lot of people talking about the self-doubt that comes into play, and honestly, quite frankly, doubting God when things don't look exactly like you expected them to look. And so the whole purpose of this video was to talk about it, right? Like, I needed y'all to understand that, like, it's not necessarily all roses. I do believe that there are times when you do need to abruptly quit, either for your mental health or out of obedience because God has directly called you to do that. However, some of y'all know y'all need to pump the brakes, and this video is for y'all. And what I want to talk through is just a couple of the lessons. The first being, have a vision for your career. Like, for me, I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was capable of doing, but I didn't really have a big picture vision for where I wanted to go. When I left my job, I just thought like, hey, I'll find another project management position. But there was no bigger picture thought, right? Like, who is Candace as a professional and what does she hope to accomplish 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And as you are thinking through that, I definitely recommend inviting God into that conversation. I wholeheartedly believe that as we invite him into that, he can help us to visualize and picture what it looks like. Maybe it's not going to be as prescriptive as you are going to have this exact title at this exact company making this amount of money. And maybe it will be, right? Like, I'm not putting God in the box, but maybe it's just, hey, here's how you are going to impact people. Here's how you are going to leave the world a better place. Here's how you are going to provide for your family and do so in a way that allows you to also exercise your gifts, your passion, and so forth. And I highly encourage you to write it down. The thing is, like, if you have this vision and it only lives in your head, chances are 3 months from now, you're gonna forget what you were thinking about, right? Like, I won't even give you a couple years. I give you a couple of months. There is a lot going on in the world, so many distractions in our day-to-day life. You need something that you can come back to as a reference guide. And quite frankly, it makes every job so much better, because when you can understand how your current role fits into the big picture, it just gives you something more to hold on to than, oh, this is just a paycheck, or my favorite thing is, I don't make enough money for this, right? Like, this is above my pay grade. And it might be, right? Like, when you face certain issues or problems, but is it above your vision? Is it a part of your vision? It gives you more to consider as you face challenges within your job as well. Okay, the second thing that I would tell you, second lesson, is your brand documents are so important. So when you think about your resume, when you think about a cover letter, should you choose to include one, that's a whole nother conversation. But your LinkedIn, making sure that all of the places where people get to interact with you before they get to interact with you, making sure that those truly convey the value that you will bring. Because let me tell you, for me, like, I was just basically copying over my job duties, like listing those out underneath each position and hoping that, you know, if you see that I was responsible for, or like things like that, thinking if you saw that, you would immediately understand, like, oh, yes, we should hire her. What I realized is that companies hire people to solve problems. And so, what you need to do is you need to make sure that on paper, you are clearly communicating the value you're going to bring, the ways in which you have previously solved the problems that they are looking to solve today. You need to use numbers. Like, don't responsible for managing 3 projects, blah, boring. However, if I can say manage 3 multi-million dollar projects, ensuring that we came in on time, under budget, like, and I'm just spitballing right now, like I'm just throwing something out there, but you can see there's a difference between stating what you were responsible for and informing them of how you did it and the value that you could potentially bring their organization. Those are the types of things that you want to make sure are represented, because again, everybody's not going to get the amazing chance to meet you. That was my whole thing. I knew that, like, if I could get to an interview, like I can talk the talk. Like, just put me in, coach. Put me in. Let me talk. But you won't always get that opportunity if the brand that they see before they meet you doesn't meet their expectations. Last but certainly not least for this video, because we can talk all day. Like, I can give y'all story after story, but last for this video is leverage your network. Do not let pride block you from securing your next position. Back then, I don't think I really fully understood the way in which you should leverage a network, right? Like, I knew that I was connected with some people on LinkedIn. I knew that I knew people, right? Like, I had friends, I had family, I had a mentor previously. I knew that there were people out there, but for some reason, I just tried to do it all alone. And I find that this is the case for a lot of professionals, that as they are searching for a job, they are literally just sending off their resume, like just applying via the portal and hoping that someone will see it. They don't even recognize just the power of leveraging a referral, or even having someone tell you about jobs that haven't hit the market yet. Like, that's golden. I believe there's a statistic floating around that some 80+% of jobs are filled via networking. And whether that statistic is right or not, like, that's still a very large amount. Like, even if we want to say it's not 80%, it's 60%. Even if we want to say it's not 60%, it's only 40%. Like, there's a large portion of jobs that are filled based on networking, not necessarily who you are, what's on your resume, your experience, but quite frankly, it's dependent upon you knowing someone who's willing to put their name on the line for you and refer you to a position, or you know someone who is hiring and has previous experience with you and wants to give you an opportunity to fill that role. Any way you want to flip it, networking is important, and it is like so key for you, especially as you ascend. Like, it's one thing for entry-level professionals, or even if you're in that early to mid career phase. However, as you move up and start to step into some of these more senior positions, you definitely want to have a strong network of people willing to back you, willing to say, hey, I know she can get the job done. So before you even get to the point of needing to leave a job, build that network. But when it's time for you to chuck the deuces, when it's time for you to leave your current role, make sure that you let your network know you're looking. Let them know what types of roles you're interested in. Let them help you. And I think that's the perfect point to end on. What I will do is invite you all in the comments if you've ever left a job without another role lined up, like you didn't leave because you had a better offer. You was out here wilding too. If so, let us know in the comments, what advice would you give? What would you say are some things that people should keep in mind? And if you are currently considering leaving, check out the comments to see if there's any other helpful advice for you.